YouTube, what's happening? It's Friday, July 26th. You can see we got a full slate of baseball, and it's the weekend, so we have brand new series finally. The last series of the past few days have been absolutely rough. Now we have new series, and these are some interesting, juicy looking little series we got going on. Drop a like, share, subscribe, because yesterday 6 and 4 were in the green. I don't care how much that unit is. It's green. That's all I care about for this week. So we will take it. Still up 55.7 units in the season. Football is almost here. I'm trying to get this 55 units to football so I can bet on football more. So because baseball is such a struggle right now, but hey, it's all we got. So we're going to do it. So on top of that, drop a like, share, subscribe. Let's go ahead and jump into that first game right now. First game, we have Cleveland and Philadelphia. Before I jump into that game, this is Outlier. This is a system I use for odds, props, and whatnot. There's a link in the description. You can check it out for a week for free. You can see the odds, the totals. It has a fun thing called Insights. You can check this stuff out. You can see fun things like Scott has failed to hit a double in 12 straight games. And you can see the odds are 550 at MGM. You can see fun things like that. You can see all the books it uses. It's a great app overall. I get to use it for my matchups, everything involved in there. I can see hitting, batting, versus, all this fun stuff. Link in the description. Check it out. It's free for a week. Why not? Don't you love free stuff? I know I do. So looking back at the odds for this game, though, we can see that Philly is a pretty decent favorite at home. Over-under is currently set at 8. Let's look at the bats. We see Cleveland, Philadelphia, 46.7% nerfy based on what they've done so far this year. 2.3 while batting 211. That's 23 and 21st in the majors. That ain't good recently. Philly, not too much better. 3 runs and 198. So they're better in the runs slightly, and they're slightly worse than the average. So both teams are kind of struggling. 8 strikeouts and 8.3 the last 3. Neither one striking out that much. Looking at the pitchers, Sanchez, Mr. All-Star himself, is going out there. Dude has had on the screen, he's been beasting pretty good. We need to drag this down a little bit more, just like that. There we go. Fill the screen up. There you go. So you can see it now. You can see his numbers, see what he has done. Everything looks good except for the Cup game. Cup game 777, that ain't good. Lively, you can see what he has done. He got blew up himself. They're about the same on stats, except Sanchez has had a couple better, nothing games, a couple hits, no earned runs. So I would give Sanchez the advantage slightly over Lively, but not by too much. Looking over at the breakdowns a little closer, we start with Lively. No one's really, Castellanos has faced him, looks like once. That's it. So nothing really there. Cleveland versus righties, you can see how they do. They do better against lefties, apparently. So you can see the stats, how they break it down. Turner's batting 349 against righties, so that's a good one. Bohm's batting 312. You can see all the stats there. We can look at props real quick for Lively. Earn runs, maybe. It's what, 3.5? Strikeouts, hits, walks, pitching outs are the main ones I look at. Outs is a fun one because the offenses aren't that good right now. I mean, we see what they're looking at. The offense, Philly's kind of struggling to hit the ball. That 198, I might have to take the pitching outs, to be honest. So you're looking at that. Let's look at Sanchez on the other side. He's only faced Hedges once, one at bat. That's it. Cleveland versus lefties, you can see how they do. Yeah, nothing's, 370 for Ramirez, that's pretty nice outside. And then Swan at 383. So your two big hitters are both doing pretty good. Outside of that, nothing truly stands out there. Let's look at some props. Hits for Sanchez, no. Strikeouts, he is up and down. Earned runs, walks, wins, outs. I don't know why I looked at wins. Nothing really stands out. And this part out here in the strikeouts, if I haven't explained it before, this is expected value. It's something Cool Outlier does. It shows you what the odds should be. This should be 143, but you can see the book. The best book is MGM at -110. So you get you a nice little, positive EV play if you want. But I'm not taking any of these props. I don't like any of these props with Sanchez. I do like Lively's over 15.5. That's saying he goes, what, 5.5 1/3? I think he can do that. Was he done the whole season? I mean, yeah, I'm liking that. I think I'm going to take Lively over. And the odds are pretty good too. Yeah. So, all right. So for this one, I am going to take Lively on the pitching outs. I'm not going to... I think I'm going to take a nerfy, guys. I think I'm going to do it. Both pitchers are pretty good. We know this. Both bats are struggling. So we're going to go nerfy and Lively over 15 PO. I don't like a side. I don't like either side. I don't like a total because everything else is too similar. Pitchers are similar, bats are similar. So I'm going to skip on everything else. Nerfy, Lively over 15.5 pitching outs. Next game. All right, next up we got Minnesota and Detroit Tigers. You can see that Minnesota's a pretty heavy favorite at 170 is the best one out there. 7.5 is your total. Looking at the numbers, 54.1 Nerfy based on what they've done this year. Four runs and 245 average at 16th and 13th in the majors in the last 3 games for Minnesota. Detroit 2.7 and 170 in their last 3. That's 20th and 26th. So Minnesota has a slight advantage when it comes to the bats. Looking at the pitchers, Pablo's going out there for Minnesota. You can see he hasn't faced Detroit recently. He's had a rough game against Tampa Bay and a kind of a rough game against Houston. But outside of that, dude's been pretty good. Can't complain, including 14 Ks against Oakland. That was a wild game. So you can see what he does. Montero's going out there. You can see he's only pitched a handful of games this year, but he got roughed up in 3 of them. He likes to get up 5 runs. So that's his thing. He did face Minnesota on July 3rd. 6.16 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk, 1 home run, 4 strikeouts. So he's already faced them, had an average game, maybe even a good game. So, but he still gave 6 hits, which is kind of concerning. So looking at the props, first thing we're going to do is start with Montero and see the history. You can see the game that we had. Lee went 2 for 3, 1 for 2, 1 for 3. You can see the numbers there. How does Minnesota hit righties? They hit lefties a lot better, but 260, you can see the numbers there, how they're doing for the season, and we can look at props. Montero earned runs. This is only 5 games, so it's going to be 5 props to look at, really. Strikeouts. Now, I can remember earned runs. He's hit over a few games. Hits is gone over 4 out of 5, including this game against Minnesota on the 3rd. Walks and pitching outs. To me, I'm going to play over 4.5 pitching outs. I mean, hits allowed, not pitching out, hits allowed, because Minnesota's already got 6 before, and we see Minnesota's 13th in batting average, including 281 last game. They got 5 runs. So the bats are doing a little bit better than average. They're not great, but they're not cold, which is the main thing. They're not cold. So I am going to play the over 4.5 hits allowed. Going back to the actual side, I lean Minnesota. And is Minnesota going to go? I think they get to Montero because just looking at Montero's history, you can see dude just gets rocked more often than not. This was his best game, and he's had 3 games of 5 earned runs. I think that's more what his wheelhouse is. I think Minnesota can get to him for at least a few runs, hopefully. So I'm going to be taking Minnesota on the money line as well. I know it's 170, but they'll just go into the money line parlay. So Minnesota, I got that. So Montero over 4.5 hits allowed. Minnesota on the money line, and move on to the next game. All right, next up we got Cincinnati and Tampa Bay. Before we jump into this, there's one key thing that no one really talks about when it comes to the trade deadline, because most people know. If you don't know, Randy Arozarena, how do you say his last name? He got traded this last night, basically in the middle of the night, to Seattle for some minor leaguers. So the main thing, yeah, you lose a production from your all-star, one of your stars of the team. You lose all that production from a bat, sure. But what people don't talk about is you lose the locker room presence that he had. You lose the whole, it messes with the vibe. And if anybody's ever played on a team before, you know when you lose somebody, it messes with the vibe of the clubhouse. It doesn't matter if it's baseball, basketball, football, any team sport, you take someone out. He had friends there, and their friend's going to be a little bummed out. So it's going to mess with things. So that's going to be a big factor in this next weekend. So any teams that have trades, I mean, Seattle might be pumped up tonight. We'll see. I don't know how I don't even know if he's going to play tonight. But, you know, things like that, we have to think about outside of things. These are just jobs of these people. This is, you know, we got to think of it like that. So, and just think of it when you lose that coworker and all of a sudden they're gone. Yeah, you're a little bummed out. So that might affect things. So going forward, we're going to keep that in mind. So here we have it pretty much a pick 'em. It's 7.5. Looking at the bats, 5 runs a game, 248 for Cincy. That's 9th and 12th. Good for them. Tampa, 6.7, 235. You got to take that with a grain of salt now because you lost Randy. So that affects that a little bit. Not by much, to be honest, but a little bit. So you still have to, I say it's pretty even. They're both offenses pretty good. So let's look at the pitchers. Baz is going out there. Baz has a very short leash. I took Baz strikeouts 2 games ago. He got pulled at 4.1 with 5 strikeouts. So yeah, last game 4 hits, had a gem, still got 3.1. So I can't touch Baz props for nothing right now because his leash is so short. Lodolo's going out there. You can see Baz. You can see it was Texas and New York twice. Lodolo hasn't faced Tampa recently, but you can see Lodolo has not been great this year. Yeah, 3.51 to 1.12. That seemed average, but recently 4.4. I mean, June was his month. But July has been a little rougher for him. Overall, he's still pretty good. So for me, the pitcher, I have to lean Lodolo because I don't know how long Baz is going to pitch, and then the bullpen comes in. So yeah, let's go closer. Lodolo history, Rays history. This screen annoys me because I look and say, oh, 2 home runs and 6 at-bats. That's Randy. So it's like, come on, man. Come on, because the lineups haven't updated yet, so we don't know yet. So I film these videos early in the morning, so that right there. Ugh. So, but you see Walls has a home run, Diaz has a home run. What I do know is that there's a lot of green on this board against Lodolo. So that's something to look at for Tampa side. Tampa versus lefties, they also hit pretty well against lefties, a lot of green. You can see that as well. Looking at some props for Lodolo, his earned runs, you can see they've been up a little bit. Strikeouts, not so much. Hits, he's right at 4 or 5 hits a game. Pitching outs and walks, you can see those. So I'm not going to take any of those. Let's look at Baz. It's really hard to look at Baz. He hasn't pitched much. There's been 2 people, Stevenson and India, have had 2 at-bats. They both hit a 2-run home run. So there you go. There you can see what you got there. So Cincy versus righties, it's about 50-50 red and green on the board. There's a 4.35. You can see the numbers. Looking at the props, there's not much. I'll show you what I got, but it's nothing I can really mess with. I make enough plays as it is. I'm not going to be gambling on Bass going more than 4 innings. So to me, I can't take any props. I think the offenses are pretty close. I think the pitchers are pretty close. So I can't take a Nerfy. I can't take a total. I can't take a side, and I can't take any props. So for me, and the Randy situation. So to me, I'm laying off everything and just passing on to the next game. All right, next up we have San Diego and Baltimore. Baltimore is a pretty heavy favorite at home. 9 is your total. Looking at the bats, we see San Diego is on a 5-game winning streak. That's worth noting. 45.3 Nerfy based on what they've done this year. 6.3 while batting .315 in their last 3 games. That's 4th in the majors from both categories. They did have a downtrend in their last game. 194, only 3 runs. So take that with what you will. And Baltimore, 4.3, 245, but they did move up a little bit to 7 and 308. So one team's trending up, one team's trending down, but that's only 1 game of data. We need more than that. So both offenses look like they're pretty good. Can't complain. On the pitching side, strikeout side, 6.7 strikeouts. San Diego doesn't strike out all that much. Baltimore, a ton at 22nd at 9.7. So pitchers, Mazur's going out there, only pitched 7 games this year, but you can see he got blew up here against Arizona, and you can see slowly 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. He's slowly climbing the staircase in the wrong direction of giving up things. That ain't good for him. Rodriguez is going out there for Baltimore. You can see what he does. 9.7. 6.86. Those are his 2 blowups, and outside of that, pretty decent, pretty good outside of that. So you know what you get with them. Pretty consistent with the occasional blowup. So you take it what you will. It's pitching. What can you do? So look a little closer at the props to see if we can look at some history. Rodriguez history versus San Diego. You can see the numbers. A couple greens, more reds. San Diego loves hitting righties, though. You can see the averages much better against righties and lefties. We got a couple 300s on here. You see the numbers on there. Looking at the props a little closer, strikeouts is pretty high, but 4.5, because remember, this is San Diego. He's going to be trying to strike out. And we know San Diego is one of the best teams against strikeouts. So be cautious. I'm not touching this. Have fun. 165 seems crazy to me. So I can't do it. I know a lot of people will, but I'm going to pass on it. It's same. He's up and down. Earned runs, walks, outs, yeah, even that, no. So nothing in his props look good except for maybe strikeouts. If you really want to go against San Diego, have fun. I'm not. Mazur has only pitched a handful of games, has not faced Baltimore. Baltimore versus righties, they like hitting righties as well. So you can see 2, 3, you got some high volume numbers here. So you can see those there. And look at some props. He's only had 7 games. There's the staircase I was talking about. We're climbing upwards. That ain't good for a pitcher. Strikeouts are going up. Well, that's good for him. That's good. His walks are going down, so his control's better, but he's still giving up hits and earned runs. He's climbing a staircase you don't want to do as a pitcher. So that makes me lean Baltimore, because we go back to the bats, we see the stats. It looks like they both can do pretty good with the bats. Mazur is not doing so well. To be honest, the only thing I'm thinking liking this one is the total of over 9. I don't know why. I just feel like over 9 might be the play in this one. So that's what I'm going to do. Over 9. Because we get to my favorite score, which is 4-4. That means I'm going to push at least because somebody's got to score. So, we'll take over 9 in this one. We're not going to take any props. We're not going to take a side. Over 9, next game. All right, next up, Texas and Toronto in Canada tonight. You could see that Toronto is a slight favorite, 8.5 is your total. Looking at the bats, 44.98% Nerfy based on what they've done this year. Texas is on a 5-game winning streak. Again, worth noting. 5 runs a game while batting .323. That's 9th and 3rd in the majors in the last 3. They are doing quite well, including yesterday or last game. They got the average, just didn't score the runs. So strikeout 6, that's 3rd in the majors. They're doing pretty good. Toronto, not so good. 2.7 for 20th, 170 average in the last 3 for 26, and 8.3 strikeouts for 15. So the main thing that stands out here is there is almost 170 point differential in batting average in the last 3. So Texas clearly has the advantage of bats in my mind. Looking at pitchers, we got Kikuchi going out there. And I mean, dude has not been that good at all, has he not? I mean, these are not bad games, but 7s, 5-4, 4-4. I mean, that's a Wendy's right. That's a 4-4. He threw a Wendy out there against New York. See, he gives up too much. I don't like that. And then none of these are against Texas. And then Haney has not faced Toronto either, so you can see those. But 0, 0, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3. I'll take those. All of these games are better than any of Kikuchi's games. Texas advantage pitcher, easy. So I have a Texas bat advantage. I have a Texas pitcher advantage. That leads me to take a Texas money line, which, as we see, the best number out there is DraftKings at +110. So we got some good numbers out there. So Texas money line is going on the list. Let's dig a little deeper though. Let's not get overzealous here. So first off, let's look at Haney versus Toronto history. We do got some greens on here, and we got like Vladdy's got a home run. Turner's got 2 home runs and 8 at bats. That's interesting. Outside of that, not much to really look at. Toronto versus lefties, not so good. Another point for Texas. You can see the numbers, how they do. Turner's 306, but no one else is close. So, and let's look at the props. So we can see Haney earned runs is getting better as he goes. Strikeouts, downward trend for strikeouts is weird, but his hits are staying low. His walks are going up a little bit, and his outs are about here. I don't want to touch the outs. I don't trust that. Not with all these 15 showing. Pass on those. Let's go to Kikuchi now. We'll see him against history against Texas. You can see the numbers. Garcia's got a homer. Grossman's got a home run. Lowe's got a home run. You can see the averages. How does Texas hit lefties? They're about 50-50. So we got some 300s on there, some high 200s. So you got those. Again, I think this is a slight advantage Texas. And we'll look at the props. Pitching out, not a chance. I couldn't do those. Strikeouts for Kikuchi? Still, Texas is doing good with the bats. They're not striking out. Hits, I mean, perhaps, but I don't want to do it. Earned runs, no. And walks. Yeah, none of those look good. So for me, the only thing I'm going to take in this, I'm not taking the props. I definitely can't take a Nerfy with Kikuchi. I just can't do it. With Haney, sure, all day. But if you're doing one of those crazy half of an inning, like a side Nerfy, which apparently is a thing now, by all means, have fun. Haney, sure, but I can't touch it. So all I'm going to take in this one is Texas on the money line and move on to the next game. Next up, the game of the weekend for the media anyways. There's other matchups that probably are better, but they're going to talk about this matchup. Yankees and Red Sox. We have it as slight favor for the Yanks. 9.5 for your total. Looking at the bats, we see 41.1% Nerfy based on what they've done this year. With these pitchers, no chance in hell would I ever take a Nerfy. Can't do it. 4.7 and 257 for the Yankees in their last 3. Boston 7 and 299 for the last 3. That's 2nd and 5th. Both bats are doing awesome. Boston's a little bit better in the bats right now, so and they're not striking out as much. The Yankees are striking out 9.3. They're a little high, but overall, both bats are doing great. Looking at the pitchers, we got Nasty Nesta going out there, and Nestor's damn sure been nasty recently. You can see 8 and 6, 7 and 5, both against Tampa Bay. Great game against Boston, though. It's there. 6 innings, 3 hits and an earned run with a home run and a walk. So, hey, this was the day after 4th of July, too. So, that's there. So, you can see the rest of the stats. he's, yeah, you can see him. Bello, on the other hand, Bello gives up runs too. You can see none of the, there's the Yankees, 4.2 on June 14th, 6 hits, 4 earned runs. You can see they both like to give up runs anyways, except for this one Miami game. Dude was a beast. So to me, I see both pitchers giving up runs, and I see both bats doing pretty good. I'm leaning over, but we'll dig a little deeper into this. So let's pop over to the outlier. Let's go with the matchup. We want Nestor versus Boston history. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Devers has 2 home runs off him and 14 at bats. That's interesting. You know, Devers might go on the list too, because this is in Boston. Yeah, he might go on the home run tater list. I haven't been adding nobody because there's some that stood out, but I'm like, but I'm just making a mental note. Even though he's only batting 214. And Boston versus lefties, you can see some like him, some don't. You got some 300s on there, some high 2s, but then you got some lower ones. So yeah, you can do what you do with that one. So we'll look at props real quick for Cortes. Hits are pretty average. Strikeouts are up and down. He had 1 last time. Oof. Earned runs, he's starting to pop up a little, getting that upper staircase. Walks, nothing. And pitching outs, no shot. He's been low recently. So let's look at Bello, do a little Bello research. Bello against the Yankees historically, nothing except for Verdugo as a home run. A lot of green averages, though. That's interesting to see. That tells me he might give us some hits tonight, especially against Torres. 375 with 16 at-bats. Interesting. Soto, 333. Judge, only 222 for Judge. Huh. How does the Yankees do against righties? They do well. They like them some righties. Lots of green, lots of normal green. That's what you expect. So, props, walks, strikeouts. Strikeouts are, that's a number that could be done. Some people are going to play this today, I think. But you can see, yeah, I'm not going to play that. Hits, that's pretty. He goes off at least 5 hits a game, and it's 5.5. That's tempting. That's so tempting. I'm not going to do it. Earned runs, that's tempting too. Oh, Bello gives up so many runs usually. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I could take so many things. Okay. The bats, you can see the bats. We just looked at all the pitchers. I'm going to take the over of 9.5. I feel like one of these two is going to get blown up because you see how good the bats are. You can see the numbers, especially Boston's bats are good. So 9.5 feels like the number I want to go with. Over of that. I don't want to take a side because neither pitcher's that great. If I had to pick between the two, I'm taking Nasty Nestor. If I had to pick a bat, I'm taking Boston, so they can't tell on the side. I'll take the over 9.5. No props, no Nerfy, and move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got Atlanta and the New York Mets. We have the Mets as a slight favorite at home, 7.5 is your total. Looking at the bats, 67.8% Nerfy based on what they've done this year. Also, look at the streaks. And Atlanta's lost 5, New York's won 4. Streaks are important in baseball more than any other sport because they play every day. So big thing to look at. Atlanta, 2.3 runs while batting 200. That's 23rd in both categories in the last 3. And their last game didn't help it either because they're about the same. With 11.3 strikeouts, which is second to last in the majors at 29th. Mets, 6 runs per 5th. 236 per 16th, but they were kind of bad the last game, only batted 100. So, and they're also striking out a ton. So 2 of the bottom 4 teams in the majors in strikeouts in the last 3. So let's look at the pitchers a little closer. We have Morton going out there. This will be his 3rd time facing the Mets this season. You can see it was way down here, May 10th and April 8th was the last 2 times he faced. He gives up runs occasionally, but then he throws absolute gems also. So it's, he's definitely the definition of elevator. He is up and down. That's all he does. And then the Mets are sending out Kodai Senga, who, as we see, he is making his season debut. He was out with a strained shoulder. So they thought he'd be the starter this year, but the opening day starter, but he's been out. So he's making his season debut. Hey, good for him. So he's back. So this is his 2023 stats, and we can see 298 with a 122, pretty good numbers overall. So we're going to look at some of the stuff last year for him. Let's dig a little deeper. Props. We'll start with Senga. We'll do the matchup history. So history versus the Braves, obviously nothing this year, but you can see no home runs given up, not many at bats. Braves versus righties this year, you can see the numbers. This makes me laugh. 0.083 is higher than the season average. That's just hilarious when I see those things. You can see the Braves just aren't doing good with the batting this year. They're just not. I am almost wanting to bet them not to make the playoffs. Just going to say it. Just going to put it out there because I don't see how they're going to get better. The injuries keep stacking up, and unless they make some moves, I mean, what are they going to do? I just can't see it. So anyway, let's pop over. Now, these are all props from 2023. I'm going to show the whole season so you can see. So we have nothing for 24. So you can see how he was. We do have props. He has 6.5. That's what he was last year. 6.5 against Atlanta might be the move. He faced them once last year, had 7, and that was on 8-13, almost a year ago. Hits, he gave it 4 hits. Earned runs, 2023, his hits, you can see how he was for the whole season. Earned runs for the whole season is 1.5 today. So I don't really want to go with the dude who hasn't pitched this season. I want to see what he can do. So I'm going to leave these alone, but I'm showing it so you can see. He gives up a lot of walks. So there you go. And let's look at Morton, his history. Well, Morton against the Mets. There we go. Lindor's got 2 home runs and 42 at bats with a terrible average. Meneil's got 2 with a terrible average. You can see the numbers up and down, a lot of at bats, a lot of data with Morton versus the Mets. So you can see all that. Mets versus righties. We know Mets are better against lefties. I say it every video. You can see the numbers, but the numbers aren't bad. You still got like, mid 2s, high 2s. So not really worth taking it over in this way, that's for sure. But we can look at walks, strikeouts, hits, earned runs, outs. Pretty consistent. I'm not liking any of these props, to be honest. If anything, I'm kind of liking the Nerfy because he thinks Senga comes out fresh. Atlanta hasn't seen him this year. Atlanta bats are terrible, as you see. The Mets have a terrible last game, batting 100. Morton's up and down like an elevator, so I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to Nerfy this game. I don't want to take... I do lean the Mets, too. I do lean the Mets. Oh, I think I'm going to go Mets money line in this one. And the Nerfy. I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, because the Mets are slightly favored, so they will go in the money line parlay. I feel good about that because Atlanta's just struggling. And I'll take the Nerfy. We're going to take a Nerfy against a pitcher making a season debut, but he's a good pitcher, so hey, we'll do it. A little different. So I'll take those 2 and move on to the next game. Next up, Seattle and Chicago, the White Sox. You can see Seattle's a pretty heavy favorite. No word if Randy's going to be actually playing with Seattle tonight, but that's the thing. So haven't got that yet. So over under 7.5. Currently looking at the bats, we see, let me get this off the screen. There we go. Chicago's lost 11 in a row. That's crazy. So both teams are absolute trash offensively right now. 28th and 25th. 1 run in the last 3 for Seattle, 1.7 runs in the last 3 for Chicago. They're batting 143 and 151. That's second and third worst in the majors. Somehow someone's worse than these 2 teams in the last 3. And the last game, 194, 167. So these teams are terrible offensively. So, and strikeouts. Seattle's doing middle of the road for once, and Chicago's terrible. So look at the pitchers. We got Thorpe going out there. You can see Thorpe's numbers for the season so far. He's been pretty good outside of this blow up here against Arizona. These are really good numbers. Great numbers overall. Hasn't faced, he did face Seattle. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. You can see the numbers there. Still pretty good. And then Kirby, we know Kirby's pretty good. 3.2 with a .98. Great whip. Strikeout, dude. You can see the numbers. Hasn't faced the White Sox recently, but I mean, his numbers are great too. So what do we have? We have 2 pretty decent pitchers and 2 atrocious offenses. Nerfy's 56%. I'm taking the Nerfy. I don't care. When you're this bad offensively, I got to do it. So I'm taking the Nerfy. Over under is currently 7.5. Based on these 2 pitchers, I'm going to go under. I'm thinking about under 7.5. It's typed up. I don't know if I'm taking it yet. Let's dig a little deeper. Kirby against Chicago. You can see the numbers, see how they've done. They haven't fared well. A bunch of zeros. There's 1 for 3, and there's a 3 for 3 for him. So, and Chicago versus righties. You can see Chicago they're better against lefties, but still the numbers are not good. There's nothing good here to talk about. Looking at the props, Kirby walks, no. Strikeouts, maybe because Chicago's striking out a ton. Hits, no, because I will go under. I mean, there's a lot of leans in this game. When you have something so decisively bad, I have leans galore in this game. Earned runs, pitching outs. I mean, they expect him to go 21. I can't do that one. So Thorpe, on the other hand, him historically versus Seattle. You can see the numbers here. Nothing really stands out versus Seattle versus righties. They're better against righties. So you see the greens pop up here. Looking at the props, hits, like I said, he's been great. He hasn't given up many hits. Strikeouts, or he just doesn't strike anyone out. But he's facing Seattle, so you got to bump that up a little bit because Seattle strikes out a ton. Earned runs, still low. Walks, no. And pitching outs, he's consistent. He's been great his last few games. So none of this really stands out to me except this. This is terrible. So I'm going to take the Nerfy for sure. I hate is it 7.5? It is. And under's favorite too. So that makes sense. So yeah, I'm going to take Nerfy. I'm going to take under 7.5, and we're going to move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got the Doyas and the Astros. We have it. Houston's a slight favorite, 8.5 is your total. Looking at the numbers, 40.8% Nerfy based on what they've done this year. Both offenses, 12th and 18th in runs scored, 4.7 and 3.3 in the last three, but they both have a nice uptick from the game they last played. 286 and 275, that's 7 and 9th. So there's no slight favorites, slightest of favorites for the Dodgers on the offense because of what they've done. But they are striking out more, 10 versus 8, so not much of a difference there. So looking at the pitchers, Gavin Stone's going out there. You can see he hasn't faced Houston recently. You can see the numbers, how he does. He gives up a couple, but overall, 4 is the worst he's done. Not bad numbers overall. Valdez is going out here, has not faced the Doyers. He's been blown up once, but then he's pretty decent too. So to me, I don't really see a difference in these pitchers. They're pretty close, similar to each other. So I don't see an advantage really with the pitcher. I don't really see an advantage with the offense yet. Like I said, it's the slightest advantage for Dodgers. And if anything, slightest advantage for Valdez because he's just done it longer. So I've just seen more of him. So let's dig into props. Let's see if anything stands out. Valdez history versus the Dodgers. You can see what stands out here. Ohtani is terrible against Valdez history. 34 bats, a $118 for Ohtani. Interesting. And then you see Hernandez, what he's done. You can see the stats. That's actually good. Dodgers versus lefties, you can see the stats. We've got more green than red, barely, but Barnes is 400 on 30 at bats, 300 for Smith. You can see the stuff here. That Ohtani one's the biggest one that stands out to me. Let's look at his walks, his strikeouts, his hits. So far, nothing's really standing out. Earned runs, nope. Outs, nothing. Let's go to Stone. Stone so far. Stone history, nothing against them. They never faced them. Houston versus righties. They're better against lefties, but they got some green on the righties, and they're just all mid twos, maybe a high two. Nothing's truly standing out in this list. So let's look at the props for him. His hits, his strikeouts, his earned runs. Strikeouts, they fell off the 3. That's wild. Walks and pitching outs. Again, nothing is standing out. The wildest thing is that Ohtani stat against Valdez. That's the wildest thing to me. So if there's a prop out there for Ohtani versus Valdez, I would take that, but I'm not digging that deep into props. I ain't doing it. So for me, nothing stands out in this game. So I'm just going to fully pass and just move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got the Cubs and the Royals. We see that KC is a slight to moderate favorite at home. 9 is the total currently. The bat's 48.9% Nerfy based on what they've done this year. Cubs 1.7 runs their last 3 for 25th while batting 216 for 20th. Not good for them. KC 6 runs while batting 324. That's 5th and 2nd. So you got to give the advantage to KC. They also had a great game in the last game for 6 and 333 average. Cubs 2 and 188. That they're trending down still. So yeah, KC has the advantage here offensively. Looking over at the pitchers, we got Hendricks going out there. You can see what he's done. He hasn't faced KC recently. Pretty good numbers outside this 777 number here, but great games overall. What you expect out of him. So he's pretty consistent besides this one blow up. Singer, on the other hand, is just Singer's a beast. We know this. His worst game is at 8-4 against Boston. Like, come on. He pitched 7 innings, great. You see what you get out of him. I would take Singer over Hendricks any day of the week. So we have advantage in KC pitching. We have advantage in KC bats. So I'm taking KC money line. That's a fact. KC money line. Let me do that. And just to make sure we're not missing out on anything, let's pop over here, look a little closer at the data. We got Hendricks. We want the Hendricks versus KC matchup. We see Hendricks history versus the KC batters. Frazier has 2 home runs and 28 bats while batting 464. Whew. That stands out. That's the only one that stands out. 300 for 10 at bats, okay, but that's the only one that stands out. And then KC versus righties, you can see how they do. We got a 343 for Witt, even though it's below. He's better against the other side. You can see the numbers. Let's look at the earned runs for Hendricks. No. Strikeouts, no, yeah, 2.5 is his strikeout number. What? What is that? That's crazy. Hits, walks, and pitching outs. Yeah, none of that stands out to me. Singer, on the other hand, let's do the matchup for Singer versus the Cubbies. Singer's history, no home runs. Some green out there, but not much. I mean, the most at bats is 4. So, Cubs versus righties, they're about 50-50 on both sides. So, you got nothing's truly standing out on this list except that Swanson's pretty low, but outside of that, So, let's look at some props. Outs, up and down. Strikeouts he's up and down. Strikeouts, hits, earned runs, so yeah, and walks. Nothing truly stands out for the props on either one of these guys. All I see is I think Kansas City has the advantage. To me personally, based on statistics, I think that KC has the advantage in the bats. They have the advantage in pitching. I'm not taking a nerfing in this one, not when the KC offense is this hot. So for me, all I'm going to take in this game is Kansas City money line and move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got Miami and Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a 220 favorite. That's the best number out there you're going to find at home. 7.5 your total. Looking at the bats, 61.52% nerfy based on what they've done this year. That is highlighted yellow for a reason. Especially with these pitchers too. You're going to see Nerfy's definitely in play. 6 runs a game while batting 280 for Miami, but they did drop off in the average to only 231 their last game. That's key. Milwaukee 1.7 runs while batting 224. They're struggling to score runs. They're middle of the road bats, and they did get a little uptick in the batting. So both are striking out 10th and 11th. Nothing stands out there. The pitchers, this is where it comes into play. Trevor Rogers is a good pitcher. Like, he's such an underrated pitcher, in my opinion. You can see the stats. I mean, you see now he recently hasn't hit all the innings needs to, but I mean, I will take a pitcher that gives up 2 runs a game. That'd be great. I love that. So you can see what he does. Peralta's going out there. You can see what he does. He gave up 10 hits against Washington, which was random. He gave up 10 against Cincy. But outside of that, sometimes he has straight up gems. I think I take Rogers slightly more than Peralta, but not by much, let's be honest. So in the bats, you guys see overall Miami is slightly better. I see slightly, yeah, they're 4.5 runs better than Milwaukee, and the average is about 60 points higher, but still slight to moderate Miami, and slight to moderate, slight on the pitching for Miami. Does that mean I'm taking Miami money line though? No, I'm not doing that. No, there's a reason why this number is where you see it. Like this number is here for an absolute reason. Like what is going on here? So anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami wins the game. Let me put it out there. Milwaukee should not be 220 tonight. There is a solid chance Miami wins this game. However, let's pop over the props and see what we got going on. See what stands out. So we have Peralta. Let's start with him. Peralta versus Miami history. Oh, well, Chisholm has a home run. Chisholm might get traded, apparently, from what everybody's saying. Like, okay, he might not play tonight. Who knows? It's the weirdest time of year. So plays can get canceled easily because of this. Bell's got a home run, but only 190 and 21 at bats. So, yeah, how's Miami hit righties? About 50-50. Nothing truly stands out. Horse is 360, 355, but not many at bats. So you can see what they do. Look at the props here. Earned runs, strikeouts, hits. That's interesting. There's the 2 big blow-ups. Walks and pitching outs. Under might be a play. Huh. Okay. And let's look over here at Rogers. We want his matchup history. Bang, bang, bang. Rogers. There's a lot of green on here. That might be why they're favored so much. It also could be the name on the chest. That might be a reason too. So there's lots of reasons. Hoskins has 3 home runs and 19 at bats. That's worth noting. Hoskins might have to go on the home run list. It's just like that. He's on the list. And we got Adams has 1, but you see the rest. So, and how does Milwaukee hit lefties? Well, there you go. I mean, you can't get more of a split than that, really. You can see the numbers. Contreras loves it. Some hate it. So there you go. Let's look at the props. Walks, strikeouts, hits, earned runs, and outs. I'm not liking any of those props, to be honest. So nothing's truly standing out for me. Like I said, this feels like a weird game. I thought about taking the Nerfy for a minute. I don't like the props. I think Miami's going to win the game just based on all this information, but I'm not putting my money on it. I can't do it. Now, if they do, I will make a video bragging. I'm not going to lie. I'll make a short and I'll brag all day about it. So, but other than that, I'm going to pass on this one, leave it alone, move to the next game. All right, next up, Washington and St. Louis. St. Louis is a pretty heavy favorite at home. 7.5 is the total. Look at this. We found the worst offenses in baseball. The other game was pretty bad, but this is pretty bad too. Both teams, 1 run a game in their last 3 for 28. The Nerfy 68.3 on here based on what they've done this year. They both didn't get a run their last game. Washington is batting 126 as a team in the last 3 games, and it's just terrible. That's last. They didn't get it. Yeah, obviously Washington got no hit against Cease yesterday against San Diego, so that's not going to help that out at all. And St. Louis batted 207 in their last game for 183 in their last 3 for 25th. The offenses are trash right now. So if the pitchers are good, Nerfy's in play because everything's lining up. Pitchers, we got Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray has kind of fell off a little bit, has he not? He faced Washington already. 5 hits, 8 and 5. You see what he did. So he's up and down, but I mean, where are these ones at? You need to bring these ones back. And then Gore, you can see what he did against St. Louis, 6 and 5. So both of them got beat up a little bit against each other. So you can see the stats. Part of me still wants to do the Nerfy. It just does. We know these pitchers can be good. They've shown they can be good. They have highlights. These offenses are so bad. Oh my goodness. Anytime the 30th faces the 25th in average and the 228th face runs, I gotta do an Nerfy. I gotta do it. I mean, this could easily hit the Nerfy because these pitchers, as you see, they got blown up last time we played each other. Both 8 and 5 and 6 and 5. So take it with caution, but I'm gonna rock with a Nerfy in this one. I'm not gonna take the over/under. Not gonna do that. Batting wise, there's no side. Who's better? St. Louis? Barely? No. Pitchers? Yeah, Sonny Gray, is he better? He's fallen off a little bit. So I can't take a side because look at these numbers. No. So let's look at props. Let's dig a little deeper. Sonny Gray history versus Washington. You can see how the bats have done. We got a lot of green on the board. A couple home runs for Garcia and Ruiz. You can see it. How does Washington hit righties? You can see all the numbers here, how they do. Nothing truly stands out. So let's look at some props. Any props we're taking? Outs? Nope. Strikeouts? Perhaps. How was Washington striking out? Well, they're 5th in the majors in the last 3, 6.3. So they didn't hit nothing, but they ain't striking out. So hey, better for them. So that's gonna be a play people will definitely take. Hits. See, he's starting. That's an upward staircase. You don't want to see those. Earn runs. See, he was so good. He was so good right here. It didn't fall off. So yeah, I can't do it. His walks have gotten better, but I don't trust those. So let's look at Gore. Let's look at his. Let me refresh it so it works. And his matchup, we want Gore versus them. History. Carlson has 2 home runs and 3 at-bats. That's interesting. He likes hitting home runs off them. And you can see a lot of green on here, but not many at-bats. Contreras has 7 for 571. That's 4 out of 7, I believe. St. Louis versus lefties, it ain't that good. So this is why I'm not leaning St. Louis. So nothing's really standing out here. Earn runs, we get downward spots. So Gore's getting better, Gray's getting worse. Strikeouts, that's not a staircase you want to see for strikeouts. Hits, he's gotten lower, but you can see where he tends to be. His walks and his outs. So nothing truly stands out in the prop land. The only thing I'm seeing is a high Nerfy percent in 2 terrible offenses, in 2 serviceable pitchers. That's what we'll call them. We'll call them serviceable. So this feels like a Nerfy I'm going to sweat. But hey, it's Friday night. Let's sweat away. I'm taking the Nerfy. I'm not taking anything else. Next game. All right, next up, Oakland and LA. They just played a series 3-4 days ago. Now they're playing again. This time it's in LA. We have a pick'em on the numbers, and it's 9.5. Looking at the totals, the Nerfy is 62.1 today, based on what they've done this year. 5 runs a game while batting 290. That's 9th and 6th for Oakland in the last 3. The Oakland offense has been on fire in the past 2 weeks. Top 10 on everything usually. Angels 4 while batting 211. That's middle of the road to middle bottom. So you got to give the advantage to Oakland with the bats. Looking at the pitching, Carson Fulmer's going out there for LA. You can see what he's done. His last game was literally 5 days ago. 4.25 hits, 3 earned, 2 walks, 3 Ks against Oakland. And then he played Oakland on July 3rd, 2 innings. So you can see he's a reliever, but he's one of those relievers you don't know how long he's going to pitch. So yeah, he might go 4 innings, he might go 2 innings, but those were 2 great innings. So, and then Blackburn's going out there for Oakland, who has not pitched since May 10th. That's not good. And he gave up a 777 last time. So it's hard to really judge him. It's been 2 months. So anytime they're over 60 days out, I try to treat him like it's their first game of the year. So I try to fade or just lay off completely. So I got to give the pitching, because this dude's not bad either. I mean, this was his worst game on here. I got to give the advantage to him. So I give Oakland advantage in the bats, LA the advantage in pitching. That means I don't take a side, and I can't take a total. So Nerfy, first game of the year, Nerfy, after your last game was this. And look at the numbers. He just wasn't good anyways. I can't do it. I can't do a Nerfy. Oakland's bat's too hot for it, so I got to pass on the Nerfy. Let's dig a little deeper into some props. Maybe something pops up. We'll see. Blackburn history. Nothing truly stands out in the history. LA versus righties. They're about middle of the road. Nothing. Adele kind of struggles. They kind of struggle. You can see the numbers. Let's look at some. All we have are strikeouts because we don't have much on him. So this year he has gone over 6 out of 8 times, but not enough. I need to see. It's his first game, so we fade. Outlier. Let's load up Fulmer now. Fulmer history versus Oakland. Angelaro has a home run. No one else does, and a lot of zeros. A lot of zeros on here. Oakland versus righties. You can see how they do. Nothing. Rooker's been on fire recently. Standing out. You can see the numbers. Yeah, nothing there. And we only have 2 games all season, so we really don't have much to really look at. Because he's a reliever. They don't really do reliever ones. These are mainly for starters, because this was the 14th against Seattle and the 21st against Oakland, so no real props there. So for me, I mean, everything says Oakland on the bats, but I just can't trust Blackburn, so I can't really take anything in this game. I mean, yeah, there's nothing that stands out, so I'm just going to pass and move on to the next one. All right, next up, we got Pittsburgh and Arizona. We have Arizona as a pretty heavy favorite at home, 8.5 is your total. Looking at the bats, 51.2% Nerfy based on what they've done this year. 2.7 with a 217 average. That's 20th, 19th for Pittsburgh in the last 3. Arizona, 6 runs with 255. That's 5th and 11th. So you got to give Arizona a slight advantage with the bats. And both teams single-digit top 5 strikeouts last 3. So strikeouts won't be a thing here. Pitching is a little weird. Louis LL Cool J Ortiz is going out here because it's Louis L. Ortiz. We have the stats on him. You can see what he's done. Hasn't faced Arizona recently. Dude's a pretty good pitcher. Dude, outside his 1 game against Tampa, dude's awesome. So yeah, great. Only problem is I'm not seeing any Arizona pitcher on the outlier side. Now, ESPN is reporting it's Gollins pitching. Is he pitching though? I don't know. We'll treat it like ESPN knows what they're talking about, so we'll assume he's pitching. So, game log, Gallen's last game, Zach, we'll call him Zach, make it easy. Last game was 720. You can see what he's done. He's had a great game, but it's been kind of down. So now, if they just haven't updated their screen yet, hey, it happens. So I do not have any props for Zach. So, but I can look at Louis. See, Louis L. Ortiz matchup. Hit. Oh, I guess I can. Oh, look at that. It just isn't updated here. Okay. We can do a history at least. There's no props, but I can do a history. I will take that. So let's do Gollin versus Pittsburgh history. You can see what they have. Everyone's had at bats, and some red, some green. Pittsburgh versus righties. You can see how they've done. Nothing truly stands out for anyone here. There's just a lot of 1s and lower 2s. Not good. Let's look at Louis versus Arizona history. Only 5 total at bats, so nothing really stands out. Arizona versus righties, they're about 50-50 split either way. Nothing truly stands out here either. Okay, 313, but no at bats. So yeah, so only props we have is for Louis. Earned runs, strikeouts, hits. He's gotten better. He's gotten so good. Walks and pitching outs. His outs keep going up. I like that. So, and Arizona's bats are much hotter though. So, what's the total in this one? 8.5. I don't like that. I wish if it was 8, I would take it, but 8.5, I don't like. Arizona, I don't. Pittsburgh bats struggle. Arizona's got the bats. I would say Pittsburgh has the pitching, so those 2 cancel out. I don't like anything else. So for me, nothing standing out in this game. And then it's just, I don't know, it just feels weird. So I'm just going to pass on this one and just move on to the next game. Last game of the day, we have Colorado and San Fran. San Fran's a pretty heavy favorite. 175 is the best number. 8 is your total. Looking at the bats, 58.3% Nerfy based on what they've done this year. Colorado, 9.7 runs a game. Now, that is completely skewed by the fact they got 20 runs in the last game. But they did bat 339, so I don't care how many runs you score. If you're batting 339, that's still good for a team. So that's first in average, first in runs, clearly. And 8 strikeouts for 11. So yeah, Colorado's offense is pretty hot right now. San Fran, 4.7, 243, that's 12th and 15th. Even if Colorado didn't have the 20 spot, they got like a 10 spot, they're still going to be number 1. So, yeah, Colorado has the advantage in offense. Looking over at the pitching, we got Freeland going out there with a 5.63 with a 1.54. His last game was against San Fran on the 20th. 6 innings, 5 hits. You can see what he did. So, he's been pretty, I mean, he's only pitched a handful of games, so you can see since April. So, he's been pretty good in these games. So, yeah, not bad. Harrison's going out there for San Fran, 3.86 with a 1.34. You can see his last game was 5 innings of 1 hit ball. So we're not taking it over. We got 2 pretty good pitchers. We got a super hot offense, but those numbers are skewed by the over. Let's be honest, they were skewed. So let's pop over to the props, see if anything stands out. History, anything. So we'll start with Harrison. Harrison versus Verotto. History, no home runs, a lot of red. That ain't good. And Colorado versus lefties, they're actually better against lefties and righties based on just this screen here. So you can see the numbers, who does what against what. Even, yeah, so the numbers are good. Nothing truly stands out. So let's look at some props. Strikeouts, no. Hits, no. Earned runs, no. Walks, and pitching outs. I can't take any of that. Nothing looks good. Let's look at Colorado. Freeland, let's do some matchup. Bang, 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 matchup. Estrada has 2 home runs and 15 at-bats. That's interesting. Yastrzemski's got 1. Fitzgerald's got 1. You can see that. More green than red. Yeah, San Fran likes them some lefties, do they not? Same thing as yesterday. So they were against the Dodgers. I had them. They were close. It was tied up. Then all of a sudden, back-to-back home runs. What can you do? So, but they love them some lefties, do they not? So, yeah, it's interesting. So let's look at some props. Strikeouts. 2.5, maybe. Walks and outs are going up. Outs could be a thing, but San Fran loves them some lefties, and we saw how the history. So, what's the total? San Fran's offense is pretty. What's the total? It's 8. Ooh, I said I wasn't gonna take it. With these 2 offenses, Colorado's obviously hot. San Fran's actually pretty good, and they're getting an advantage of facing a lefty, which they like. I think I gotta do it. It's 8. It's my favorite total because 4-4, that's a win. You got to score another run. I think I'm gonna do it. This one, I'm going to take the over of 8 runs. 8, not asterisk. 8 runs. I'm not taking the side. I kind of lean San Fran. Just saying, even though they're favored heavily, but Colorado's offense is skewed. That's weird. So I'm not going to take anything else. I'm going to take the over of 8 and call it a night. Okay, that's it. That is all 15 games broken down. If you watched the whole thing, I appreciate you watching. Drop a like, share, subscribe. If you're here for the recap, recaps have been moved to a member-only function. You got to become either a member of the YouTube channel or you got to join the Discord. Link in the description for Discord. Membership is the join button next to subscribe. You got to do either one. It was made to help the video not to die, is what this was doing. So either way, that's where the recaps are. All the other perks that goes with that as well as there. So, but on top of that, I will tell you the Moneyline Parlay. I completely forget. I got to add a section just for Moneyline Parlays. Looking over at my list is going to be Minnesota, Texas, New York, Kansas City. It's going to be those 4 teams. I'll tell you that at least. So, but outside of that, check out Outliers, a link in the description. You get a free week. It's awesome. You see how I do it for every game. Outlier is awesome. On top of that, we got 15 games. It's going to be a great day. I feel it. We're green finally after 3 losing days. Let's go ahead and in the comments, drop me what you're playing because I've been tailing some of these plays. I just don't put it on the videos because I'm tailing them. So, and some of these plays have been great. So I love seeing those. Drop those. Let me follow those. And we will see you tomorrow. Peace.